Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param. Oh. Okay, what is my text? Come on, Ishwar. Okay, it's in here. So we're beginning the chapter 9. It's the title is the yoga of sovereign science, or the sovereign secret. So sovereign, you guys have much better understanding of the English language. A sovereign nation is a nation that is somehow does not depend on other nations, or a nation that somehow does not give away its richness and resource. So therefore, it is independent. So, but in this context here, I think it's a science which is self-contained and is sovereign in the sense that it's the only science, the science of reality, or yoga of reality, yoga of consciousness, that is also presented as a science or as a secret. So we just completed the 8th chapter. And in that context, we have dealt with Krama Mukti. And here there is a passage which is interesting. Krishna presents and discusses this as the main topic of the previous chapter, because he wants to present the total teachings, the comprehensive teaching, and some Upanishads, they deal with this topic. So therefore, Krishna includes the Krama Mukti topic. So, but why he does so? A person decides to follow Saguna, and then, as we know, do a lot of Ishwaropasana, and then the person, if it's not attracted to Nirguna Brahman or the Upanishads or the Nirguna Atma inquiry, if the person finds that difficult, too subtle, and so on, in the very Upanishad, it says, don't worry, if you find it a little bit strange, you have a backup plan, like Mark has said in the past. But I don't think Mark is going to need that at all. He does not need that at all. So he just says that the person has to go into Upasana, because as we know, Upasana involves the mind and the intellect, but it's going to contemplate on the nature of Ishvara or Saguna Brahman. And he says, forget about Nididhyasana, forget about Yana Yoga, stay there as Upasaka, meditate on the nature of Saguna God, and that's okay. Because even if you die thinking of Ishvara and Moksha, okay? So here is the key thing. I have highlighted this one. The person says, no, I want to stay with Saguna Upasana, okay? And then I'm going to stay with it. But I understood that the final destination here is self-knowledge, which is the understanding of Nirguna nature of Brahman as identical to my Nirguna nature as Nirguna Atma. So if the person follows this Saguna or Sagunishwarupasana, it does so, but the person has been in contact with Vedanta, and the person is there purifying and so on. It got familiarized with this upasana on the gunas of Maya, represented by Vishvarupa, Ishvara, and so on. So the person, even if the person dies, thinking not only of Ishvara, but moksha as well. I want self-knowledge. I couldn't deal with this Nirguna Atma Nididhyasana. I prefer to stay with Saguna Upasana, Ishvara Upasana. And but my goal is not only to fully understand the nature of Saguneshwara, but my goal is self-knowledge and moksha, okay? And that is the indirect path, as we have seen. We go to a certain loka, you will meet Brahmaji, you're gonna get into Brahmaji's satsangs and get self-knowledge and moksha there. And as I said in the previous class, Krishna is not interested in promoting karma mukti. That is a concession, a very rare concession. The first time I got in contact with Jesus, I was surprised that even some one of the Upanishads addressed that, you know. So here Krishna is extracting that from a certain Upanishad, but he wants to introduce it because he wants to be fair and introduce all topics present in the Upanishads. But it's a topic of academic interest because karma mukti is meant for inferior seekers. It may hurt the ego of a lot of people out there, you know. So it's a less purified intellect, you know. And so since you cannot go with Jivan Mukta, you know, by inquiring and contemplate on the nature of Nirguna Brahman, stay with Saguneshwara because you may get liberation through Krama Mukti. Krishna feels that Arjuna does not need to do that. Arjuna, people like Arjuna and Mark and Lin and Silva do not need to do that. So Krishna consider that you are purified and very refined seeker, superior seeker, as he says. It's just presenting that so that we understand the entire teaching, you know, a comprehensive view of the teachings, which includes that concession, let's say. So it's said that after death, someone will be reborn. That is the moderation later. That is the moderation later, and it's not even verifiable, whereas here and there. So the thing about karma mukti, or even going close there and having to come back, nobody can verify that. So what he's saying, he's going to begin the verse with a lot of marketing and publicity about Jivan Mukti, or the fruits, the pollen of Atmajnana, here and now, while he's still incarnated. Why? Because all these esoteric concepts of going there, nobody can verify that. But we can verify what? We can verify the pollen, the fruits we get from Atmajnana, okay? Which is nothing esoteric, nothing transcendental. It's very simple. It's just that you're going to be a much healthier mentally, psychologically, and intellectually, and live a much happier life while still here, without fear of death being the most important, most difficult to deal with. So assuming we are all interested in Jiva Mukti only, so the course of our disciplines here is different. We are not going to confine to Saguneshwara Upasana our entire lives, just a little bit here and there to gain more one-pointedness, expansion of the mind, and more sattva guna and so on. We confine to Saguna Upasana only for a certain time. And we want to move on, be graduate to Nididhyasana, which is inquiry and contemplation on the nature of Nirguna Brahman. Because I want to get Nirguna Brahman Jnana, or more simply Brahman Jnana, Atmajnana, which means Vedanta Shravana Mana Nididhyasana. That will give the ultimate jnana, the liberating jnana, in this life, and then you're going to be able to enjoy the fruits in Jesus. We will be able to enjoy Jiva Mukti. These following chapters, 9, 10, 11, 12, Krishna is going to prescribe Upasana as a means of coming to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana, which is Vedanta, Vichara, and self-knowledge, when? In this lifetime itself. What is this knowledge that we should acquire through this Vedanta investigation? Krishna is going to prescribe. In fact, the 9th chapter primarily concentrates on Vedanta Vichara or Nirguneshwara Jnana, and having present Nirguneshwara Jnana as a means of liberation here and now, not in the future that cannot be verified. This is going to be approached in the next verse, in the 9th chapter. So now it's shifting the emphasis to what? Jiva Mukti. No longer Krama Mukti, Jiva Mukti. Because we want something that for sure we can trust. We can trust much more. The Shraddha grows to the extent that even through the development of certain qualifications or refinement or purification, we see that we begin living a happier and happier and happier life. That gives us a sense that, if I really assimilate and internalize this teaching, I can get a certain degree of transformation that is referred to as moksha, or freedom from the samsara problem, which is living unhappily, having a lot of psychological suffering to it. So we want to remove this element of psychological suffering. It's very similar to the 7th. He says that somehow this is not far from the 7th chapter. We will compare this with the 7th. We can compare a little bit. With this background, we're going to go to the first verse. The Lord said, however, to you, Arjuna, a person who is non-critical, I shall impart this jnana along with vijñana, which is the greatest secret, and gaining which you will be free from the problem of samsara, psychological suffering, okay? Mental, emotional suffering. So he says that to you, and he presents right away a qualification to Arjuna. Now he credits a qualification, which is a mind that is not there criticizing, judging, and searching for defect on the teachings again and again, checking and just to find. That person will never develop Shraddha, and it will never begin to transform his experience of himself as the body-mind in the world, because you need Shraddha to begin with. Shraddha is going to allow you to gradually develop a value, and the value must be based on the balance that you start, collecting, right, as you begin growing into this process. So if you do not have this confidence or trust, in the process, it means that you have a critical mind, a criticizing mind, looking for the facts mind. But that's not the case of Arjuna. He has Shraddha. Therefore, I will impart this Atmajnana to get jnana with vijñana, which is the greatest secret. Gaining jnana, you will be free from samsara. So he is going to divide direct knowledge and indirect knowledge, or Brahmayana and Ishwarayana, with different terms now, okay? He's going to call one vijñana and the other one jnana, okay? Jnana and jnana, the concepts are all the same, just different technical words. So Lord Krishna introduced the subject matter. In these first three verses, we will see, it says, doesn't matter if you go for Ishvara Jnana, or the nature of Saguna Ishvara, that's going to be the student matter. Let me read it literally here. He says the subject matter is going to be Ishwarayana. That's going to be the subject matter of the 9th chapter. This Ishwarayana means Brahmayana. And what kind of Ishwarayana? And no, it's both. Saguna and Nirguna. Ishwara consists of both the inferior nature and the superior nature. So Vedanta is all about that. It's understand the nature of God. It's not understand the nature of the I, the mind, although it includes that to the extent that we understood that there is only one reality. The reality is conscious existence. And it's the very nature of the body, the mind, of everything. Okay? So it is recommended that we begin this inquiry, this investigation, into the nature of God rather than in the nature of the ego. Okay, if we don't include this process, we don't include the God element, and we focus into the nature of God from the inferior nature to the superior. But if we go rejecting God, chances are that we're gonna trip on the way. Any personal God comes under aparaprakriti, as we have seen. That was present in the previous, I think, 7th chapter, maybe, para and aparaprakriti. The inferior nature, as we know, the gunas of Maya, all of them are subject to time and space and change. Paraprakriti is the higher nature of God, which is beyond time and space and change. As we know, it's the absolute true real nature of everything, which is the nature of consciousness called Chaitanya Svarupa, the nature of consciousness. So the true nature of consciousness is not the mind. The true nature of consciousness is consciousness. Then the question is, what is the difference between human consciousness and real non-dual consciousness? So that's where most people stop. Even people in spiritual circles, they are still believing that consciousness is something as the mind that expands, that travels, that it grows. And my battery is going off here. Give me a moment. Oh my God! Don't follow me. Just don't drop. Yeah, good. So Chaitanya Svarupa is not the mind. That is non-dual consciousness, the only reality, as opposed to the human consciousness. The human consciousness is limited by all means, by space, time, and so on. On the 7th chapter, we remember this topic, Nirguna, Nirvikara, Nirguna. The higher nature is attributeless, changeless, divisionless, consciousness. We see it all over our texts, all of them. Then what's the lower nature is Saguna, Savikara, Savikalpa, Achetana, Svarupa. So many words to say that the lower nature is consciousness under the spell or superimposed by the gunas of Maya. When the gunas are superimposed upon, you have to remember, we are trying to either understand the nature of God or the nature of consciousness. The one is more philosophical, the other search is more religious. So we want to understand the nature of consciousness. And if we do that vichara, that investigation, transferring the attributes of the Maya, the gunas, to phenomenal objects of investigation, we lost it. We lost it because we are just transferring the gunas into that which is absolutely attributeless. So if we transfer any any attribute, even if they are beautiful sattva guna attributes, it's going to be subject to modification. It's going to be subject to beginning, middle, and end. So it's going to be finite and limited, okay? And full of variations and divisions. That's the true nature. That's the nature of the gunas of Maya. No? It explodes with all kinds of qualities, properties, and attributes, which are unique configurations of the gunas of Maya. Krishna say, Arjuna, in this chapter, I'm going to give you the knowledge, in other words, both now, not only paraprakriti, but aparaprakriti. Not only apara, but paraprakriti. Higher nature and lower nature. And then he says, the higher nature here is called vijñana, and the knowledge of the lower nature is called jnana. Okay, so what is jnana? Jnana is the nature of God, the Creator. Okay, conditioned by a huge predominance of sattva guna as the higher superior intelligence, pure intelligence, and the superior nature of God is called vijñana, which is the attributeless, gunaless Brahman. I'm going to give you both. So this itself indicates that this chapter is similar to the 7th chapter, in which we saw the inquiry into the nature of the superior and the inferior, described as para and apara prakriti. When you gain the knowledge of Saguna Ishvara, you will be in the field of division. You and Ishvara is the first division. I and my object of upasana. I and my object of devotion. There is division. There is duality there. So you're going to be in Dvaita. When you have got Saguna Ishvara Jnana, certainly you will see the difference between Ishvara and you. You're going to see so many different variations of Ishvara, especially when you represent Ishvara by some deity or some symbol, such as the Shingalinga. No? Therefore, all Saguna Ishvara Jnana will come under Jnana or Dvaita Jnana. That's good, Dvaita Jnana, not Advaita Jnana. So different terms. It's nice to understand all these different terms so that we have more and more clarity when we read the scriptures, God is perfection, I am imperfection, that is Dvaita. God is limitless, I am limited. God is happiness, love, and compassion. I am psychological, miserable, suffering jiva. But once a person comes to understand the higher nature of God without any attributes, there will be nothing on which objectify this God in duality. There is no attributes. I cannot say, okay, now I understood this God, so it's me and God. No, there is no difference, because nirguna, or superior nature of God, is one without a second. So it can only be my true nature. It can only be everyone's nature, everything's nature. Here, Arjuna, I will give you both this knowledge. I will give you Dvaita and Advaita Jnani. That's why I would say direct knowledge, and indirect knowledge. Paraksha Jnana and Paraksha Jnana. The Jnana is in reference to the nature of God. Both Saguna and Nirguna, both I will impart to you. And then he says, I'm going to clearly teach it to you. So I'm saying that Swamiji, that Krishna Guru is very confident because he considers himself the Sadguru, the best teacher. And he has no problem to say, I'm going to do it nicely in a way that you understand. But he already put it because you have certain qualification. The teacher can be the perfect teacher, but the student is not properly qualified. This attainable is not transferred or assimilated by the disciple. So what is the glory of this teaching? Now he begins with some advertisement. People will get attracted to Nirguna Brahman if we present some advertisement. Now we have to remember, it's not misleading market, it's not false marketing or advertising. Everywhere you see, even in the spiritual circle, people making false claims and promising things incredible. And then if you really scrutinize to see the person who is promoting those notions, chances are that the person himself never got those promise, they're false promise, I mean, it's just like a wishful promise, but if it does not deliver, it's false promise, false advertisement. Vedanta does not do that. This is the real glory of Vedanta. It's the rarest knowledge, which you cannot get anywhere, although it's freely available. In fact, very rarely a person wants to know about the true nature of Brahman. Who is interested in Ishvara? So let me see what he means by this Ishvara. In fact, very rare people talk about Ishvara Jnana. Who is interested in Ishvara? Once I was conducting a class, maybe he means Saguna. So even the level of Saguna Ishvara, nobody's interested. That's why even Buddhism has rejected Ishvara, God, Once I was conducting a class in a place there, says Swami. And sometimes he was coming early there and had to wait because the place was closed. I had to stay somewhere, he says, and then he start seeing people. It's such a crowd of people. You can even bump and hurt yourself crashing against other people. So, and then he realized that there was a temple. And then he said, okay, every time I have to wait, I'm going to wait in this temple. And then he finds that in the temple, there is nobody at all. Outside the temple, everybody busy running here and there. He said, I found that very interesting to watch. But inside of the temple, there was nobody. A little gossip, my son is going to go with his family to Disneyland. Here, there is a Disney here in what's the name of this city here? Orlando, not only in Miami, but in Orlando. And he invited me, and he has no idea that I avoid crowds like anything else, nothing else, So okay. And the people, when they begin developing a certain interest and value for Ishvara, the creator, Saguna, they stay there, stuck there in the Saguna nature of God. Very rarely one person will be interested in the higher nature of God. Therefore, Krishna says this is the topmost secret, the greatest secret that nobody wants, because nobody sees value. Nobody sees value. Krishna used the word because very rarely a person is transformed by this knowledge. And then they try a little bit and say, no, I don't see value, because they want instant results. And then they say, no, I go for some things that I can do and right away enjoy some sort of results. Okay, I don't want to enter a process that may take years, decades, or a lifetime. People want instant gratification all over. So it's a secret, an open secret, but nobody's interested. And the advertiser here, says Swamiji, I heard him saying that in the past as well, is that the moment the scriptures call it secret, people say, ooh, I want to know the secret. The secret. There was even a movie or books written about the secret. So, therefore, Krishna says it's a secret, but it's not a hidden secret. Is freely available everywhere, but very rarely you find somebody interested. So therefore, this, to call it a secret, has a certain advertisement element to it. This is a process by which you study the scriptures, which is not just academic knowledge. It's not just, philosophical knowledge. You need to get practical benefits out of the assimilation of this knowledge. And this comes only when you not only got the informative knowledge, but you got wisdom. There is a difference between wisdom and informative academic knowledge. So you need to get the practical benefits so that you can say, I'm a wiser person now. People always ask for the practical benefits when in this lifetime, that as soon as possible. Vedanta says, oh, you need to be qualified. No, I don't want to know about. You either give it to me now, exactly as I am, as it is, or I go to the guru next door that's promising so many beautiful, wonderful things. So my first guru, the first guru I associate with, he was accepting everybody as a sannyas, saying, who am I to reject anybody? It doesn't matter. If you are a dharmic person, a horrible person, you come, I give you sannyas, okay? So that is very good. But that person will never, ever even begin the process of transformation if he is not purified by observance of dharma to a certain minimum level, to begin the process. People always ask, I want the results. I don't have time. I need fast results, quick results. And the promise of the scriptures is you're going to be free, released from the sickness of samsara. What is samsara? It's a psychological mental condition consisting of all kinds of problems. You can call it raga, excess of raga dvesha operating the body-mind, which is going to produce kama, krodha, lobha, moha, all kinds of so-called negative emotions, mental emotions that disturbs, and gradually, when it comes to moha, it destroys or compromises our mind. Okay, the discrimination is over. The emotional center is just, also profoundly wounded. Let's say, So this is the byproduct of living a life in total spiritual ignorance. You're going to suffer more and more and more and more. Now you're going to experience all kind of pain and agony, But just imagine that through this process you could, remove all of that. All of that will go away from your human experience. You're gonna live a free or happier, much happier life. This happier, free life is called Jivamukti. That is the promise. It's not a wishful thing. It's not a false promise because Vedanta puts it right in front. It's going to work only if you have certain qualifications developed. And then Krishna says, and why I have chosen to teach you, Arjuna? Yeah. Sometimes people there, the academics, they say, why he did not want to teach other people there? Why did you not teach Duryodhana and this and that? Because in a certain, one of our Mahatmas or Gurus have said, because Arjuna asked for it. In the second chapter, Arjuna clearly asks, teach me, please, teach me. This is why I often put the humbleness, humility, humbleness as one of the pre-qualifications. The ego is purified enough to become humble enough to say, teach me, please. Yeah? And then trust in the process and patience. I like to present it as pre-qualifications as well. So Krishna is voluntarily giving these teachings in this chapter. Arjuna has not even asked Krishna, is just giving it voluntarily. I will teach you Krishna. But the fact is that Krishna, Arjuna, has asked it. Okay, a certain, I don't remember exactly if it's the second, the third, but here in the context of this verse, Arjuna is not asking, but he asked already long before, and he keeps delivering. 18 chapters delivering these teachings, not only to Arjuna, but to all of us. You have got a rarest of qualities, he says, which is a non-critical approach. It's said to be asuya, means listening without your critical, judging, criticizing mind. The critical, criticizing, judging mind is looking for faults, defects, flaws. And sometimes they are looking to test the guru, looking for flaws on the person delivering the teachings, as if a teacher must be 100% pure. No, a teacher is one who got Jnana and has a certain familiarity with the teachings to pass it on, and the teacher is the one who was directly benefited by these teachings to the extent that he had his life and his body, mind, sense complex, of course, transformed. But there is no such a thing as 100% purity. But people want to test the teacher. There are two ways. You can doubt the scriptures, you can doubt the teacher. I used to say long ago, if you have some doubts and criticism about this process, reject the teacher, but never reject the teachings. Okay? So look for another teacher, but if you reject the teachings itself, the very source of spiritual religion wisdom, and then you're going to fall for any one of these, false gurus presenting so many false promises, to the more naives, to the fools around the world, deluded. Okay. Or to find out whether a teacher knows as much as I know. I had a person, I was trying to help him for a year or so, and he was a doctor. He was helping me. He was offering a lot of value. but he never understood the process. All through he was competing with me. Sometimes he would present, some questions, and then from a critical standpoint, and then I would work hard to clarify, present until he was satisfied. He said yes. So definitely, spiritual, you are a little bit below above me, but I'm coming right behind you. Look at the mentality. So he wants to be critical towards the teacher to see whether the teacher is on the same level or a little bit below or above you. This is a negative attitude, which is often referred to as intellectual arrogance. It is a very, very devastating weakness or lack of qualification. So if we have some intelligence and if we have read some scriptures, there is a possibility of vidya govern. What is vidya govern? Development of arrogance, maybe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, some people, they even reading the teachings itself, they don't get it. Even being in contact with the teachings for years, they don't get it. So this arrogance, we could say, it's a weakness people easily develop. If I listen, I will always find fault. So it begins with this kind of critical, judgmental, criticizing mind, looking for faults, which comes from an attitude of intellectual vanity and arrogance. Is a weakness very, very hard to be removed. And who is going to be the loser? The loser is the person with that attitude. The teacher and the scripture, they are not going to be affected at all. Therefore, Arjuna, be intellectually humble, says Krishna Guru. Even if you're not able to accept some part of this teaching, so keep an open mind, as we always say, give the teachings the benefit of the doubt, and give the teacher the benefit of the doubt, rather than say, no, there is something wrong with the scripture and the teacher. Rather than questioning the guru and the teachings, question your qualifications, question your ability to really, truly understand these teachings. Not questioning the very teaching and the teacher themselves. This is called Shraddha, trust, confidence in the one package deal called Guru Shastra. Sampradaya that comes with the Guru, which just does the job of unfolding the scripture. You have to keep your mind open. Fourth chapter, Krishna emphasized that big time, Shraddha. You have got this attitude of trust. Therefore, you are called Anasuyuhu. Suyuhu is a critical, mind-oriented people, I believe. Anasuyu is non-critical. Okay. The word Asuya is finding fault, and Anasuya is, the absence of that tendency. People, they enter this process, but the goal is just to look until they find fault. This is not only reference to the scripture. Some people having this, they have this tendency all over the place. With any and all levels of relationship, they are just engaged into criticize, find the fact, compete, dispute, Having an argument, it's very, very sad tendency. So in Tamil, the word asuya is used to mean jealous as well. There is some element of jealous as well. The Sanskrit word for jealousy is matsarya. The word asuya is finding fault and so on. Dayananda Swami says they are like proofreaders. They are just reading to find things they could improve or they could reject or criticize. Mistakes, they are looking for mistakes. But you are none of these. You have purified those standards. You are very humble. You you are very confident. You understood the value of this process. You have trust in the Guru and the scripture. If you don't understand it completely, you understand that is due to lack of further qualifications, further development of qualification. So the opposite of that attitude is confidence, shraddha, trust. So this confidence, this shraddha is a unique qualification. Therefore, I have chosen you. From time to time, I get some few new people in my Brazilian group, and I'm always wondering how, my God, look at the background of this person. She has been lost in so many concepts. He has been lost so many, and now they come every weekend to the class. So I keep just imagining the struggle they may have been going through. Sometimes I reach out to ask them, and they say yes, it's very challenging, but I can't help. I'm giving into it. So in this second chapter, the second verse says that this is the greatest knowledge, the greatest secret, the most sacred, directly attainable, not indirectly going to Brahmaloka first. And it's not opposed to dharma. Before I was looking for dharma because I want punya, I want the celestial lokas, I want Brahma loka. He said, this is the greatest knowledge, the greatest secret, when it can be directly attained and assimilate, which absolutely does not go in opposition to dharma. And he says, not only it's very easy to pursue, because the pursuit of higher lokas through punya to end in Brahmaji's loka, Brahma loka, is a very, very difficult thing. We have seen in previous verse, it requires tremendous effort. Therefore, this Ishvara Brahmanyana is the royal knowledge, greatest knowledge among all the disciplines of knowledge. I talk about disciplines of knowledge regarding the nature, the true nature of Saguna Ishvara as Nirguna Atma, Nirguna Brahman. In Mundaka Upanishad, it is called Paravidya. And why is it called Rajavidya? You can give several reasons. One of them is this is the knowledge that deals with the highest Nirguna Svarupa nature of Brahman. As the only reality, one without a second, it's Satyan, everything else is Mithya. All other brushes of knowledge, scientific knowledge, esoteric knowledge, Saguneshwara knowledge, deals only with changing phenomena within creation. The changing aspect of the Lord. This is Saguna, this is Mithya knowledge, which comes under the line of Maya or under the line between Satya and Mithya. Or below. So therefore, this knowledge deals with reality. All other disciplines of knowledge, which is not scientific only, a lot of religious disciplines of knowledge still deal who is the apparent nature of God, or mithya nature of God. Therefore, this nirguna nature of Brahman is the most glorious field of knowledge. And there is a reason for that, because if you gain this knowledge, you will won't need more knowledge as a means to improve your human experience. You're going to understand your whole full and complete nature, and you're going to be transformed, positively transformed by understanding that. And then all other fields of knowledge are now going to appear as something that could represent a resolution, a final resolution in my life. If I get to experience this and to know this, and then I'm going to feel really, really, resolved. I will feel peaceful. I will feel complete, No, none of this knowledge will going to resolve the human mind and its condition, only Atma-jnana. That's why it's considered to be the most glorious. Okay, I'm going to stop here. We come back tomorrow again, okay? Same time, without any technical challenge at the beginning, hopefully.
Okay, hopefully, yeah.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Om.
Thank you, Arlindo.
Thank you.
Another good class.
Huh?
Another great class, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Your appreciation is always much appreciated.